0.05. There were a few like 0.046, 0.0047 sales right at the start. And then, because they had a little rough start to their mint, it ranged quite a bit. But again, what you're also seeing here very quickly is that, man, it's hard to build really anything that's going to get a ton of volume in and scale. I mean, even what we're looking at here for Wallet Wars, backed by Animoca and quite a few people on a 5,000 supply, they've only did 88 ETH in volume, right? Which, again, generally pretty low. And we talked about this, right? Is that Wallet Wars is not really that speculative, right? And because it's not speculative, right, what you're realizing is, right, is like, our biggest challenge here, right, is where is that upside going to be? And that's kind of where you want to look at it on where fair auctions are going versus where fair raffles are going. You have to be smart with the prices that you want to apply to kind of all these different assets. And what we saw with Wallet Wars is that although they had hype and although there was Animoca backing, right, what we quickly saw is that because it's not a speculative asset, it's capped as a playable asset, it didn't really drive the trade volume that you would traditionally want out of a new project, right? And that's a very bearish signal for all of us in the market, right? Because we're seeing how hard it is to sustain volume as well. So, very simply put, we are giving out Jioverse allocation here. And, I actually had a really good conversation. Is that our biggest advantages is that we're able to talk to a lot of these founders ahead of time and we get a good read. And the Jioverse founders actually had a really good AMA with us. I actually think he's very intelligent in the approach that he's trying to build, but he's running into one major issue. And that one major issue here is really simple, is that I think they put the wrong supply and the wrong price out for their asset. So again, Jioverse is trying to mint at 0.05-ish as well. It's like 0.042 to 0.05, right, in that range. We have phase one guaranteed, and they're doing 6,000 supply. I'm a little worried. At least Wallet Wars was able to mint out, right, at their 5,000 supply due to the low mint price. I think effectively here, I think Jioverse is going to probably run into troubles minting out with this allocation unless they have a big boom. And this is kind of the major reason why we're giving these out as fair raffles, right? We're actually trying to protect you guys at all costs, right? Where it's just optionality. Maybe it hits, right? And that's the thing that you also want to realize is, take all of our advice as a grain of salt, right? As well, too. So make sure that you pay attention to where all these assets are going and whether or not it's worth participating here as well. Because this market is cold, right? And what's the right litmus test again for that? It is just looking at the most successful recent mint, and that is none other than Sugartown. Like, again, Sugartown still struggling. It's just kind of hovering. Sorry, I don't want to say still struggling. It is still at a good 0.185 ETH floor. But if that's the most successful thing that we're seeing in this market, you could kind of see a little bit of the cap of the ceiling on some of these assets that are around that 5,000 supply and are kind of, especially if they're paid mints, we know they struggle. And if they're free mints, right, we're kind of seeing a cap of 0.2, 0.25 E right now when we're looking at where organic market buy pressure is actually coming in. So, again, take that insight and see how you want to land on Jioverse. Jioverse is building a real geolocation app. If you believe in the opportunity of geolocation, this could be interesting, right? If you like their art style, this could be interesting. So we've just added it into the village market. We just added another 80 spots, and it's only going to run for like 10 more minutes, right? So if you feel it's worth 3 relics to have that optionality, feel free to enter. If you don't, no worries. It's totally up to you, right? That's the beauty of the system, is you could use your allocation. We're definitely doing our best to get huge allocations. It's just tough. There's nothing that is overtly bullish anymore in this market, right? And this has been a rough October. What we're hoping for is these tokens, right? That's kind of what this market's still waiting on. And that's the other insight you want to take away from this, is like, oh, gaming tokens is kind of the next thing that this market's trying to really do. And I don't know if it's going to work long term. Like, it's very interesting, but we're going to see a lot of data from grapes and meme, right? And that's kind of what we're going to take a little bit more insight on. So spend time trying to understand do you need to start positioning for tokens? Because again, we did see a few couple tokens do well. There was the big time token, right, which went essentially up in price by like almost like 300%, which was great to see in this market. But again, at the same time, it does come back to reality. It goes peaks at 30 cents, and then less than 3-4 days later, it's down to 15 cents, right? So you're playing a lot of volatility here with these types of assets. If you're looking at these types of tokens, same thing, right? When we go look at, again, something I keep telling you I need to do more research. I just haven't had time to do it. But the ZTX token is also like very strange and very interesting of an outlier here as well. And the real reason for that is like the ZTX token came out to this massive market cap that allowed a lot of people to get a significant amount of liquidity against that. But if you actually look at the token as well as like, it is starting to trend back down, right? And that's always the hardest part. But it's not awful by any means. It airdropped at roughly 0.015 and it's only at 0.012. Of course, all tokens usually trend down from launch. You always see this kind of peak and decline. But it's interesting, right? Because what they've done is that there's essentially roughly 1 billion ZTX in circulated supply, roughly over a 10 billion. So you're seeing 10% out. So they have a true market cap of 11 million, but a fully diluted market cap of 122 million. But that's kind of scary that 90% of tokens are still locked up. So you have to realize that there's probably only going to lead to downward pressure. But we did see something weirdly happen for an Arbitrum token. Again, I don't know how much of you guys are going to really work on Arbitrum tokens. It's going to be kind of interesting to see whether or not this is sustainable or if this is going to actually work, right? And this is kind of like the big challenge here in this market is that I just don't know what's going to work, because even when we see a free mint that's somewhat hyped, again, I don't really know if that was like strongly hyped in Forge. But same thing, you're seeing a free min, and Forge is kind of hovering around 0.03, right? 0.038 on OpenSea, right? 0.035 roughly. Again, it's a free min, and I know in this market it's very easy to see that hey, any win's a win, but also it's kind of disheartening if a very large venture-backed team like Forge does their Genesis min and is sitting at 0.04 or less, right? What are we looking at is that your participation is what worth, what is 0.04? What 0.1 E is roughly $160. So 0.04 is like $75, right? Which is interesting. So Moonbags is noting you have to burn it to get the experience on the platform. So I'm curious when that burn's going to happen. But because it's not a speculative asset, right, you're seeing like a lower priced asset here, which is okay. It's a different utility. But what you're seeing very clearly is like the days of like launching and getting to 0.5 ETH or higher are quite beyond us, right? And this is kind of the hardest challenge here as well. And yeah, Vavity, I mean, I think Forge is always a Web2 company, which we've been telling a lot of people. Like, I know they're launching an NFT, but the NFT is not built for speculation here as well. So this is kind of where you're starting to see is like, okay, like, is there any really good successful mint strategies that could yield value? And the honest truth is I don't think there's much, right? That's like the big change here is that I think the most successful mints are going to be ones that maybe remove yield from the conversation in the short term, but it compounds to a larger yield if you're truly participating. And this is kind of why I think this market is really struggling, because the expectations of consumers are still massively disconnected from the realities of the market. And we're learning and we're seeing and we're evaluating, right? But what we're quickly seeing is everything is underperforming, right? Everything is underperforming, right? And that's kind of the tough thing. Senator Chef asked, does it take any effort to win the prizes in Wallet Wars? Yeah, I believe it's all effort. It's like gamification, right? I'm just not sure why or what or how. All I know is they're about to launch their refer to earn stuff, which is what they're just going to make you grind to get a bunch of people on it. And then they're going to launch their L2 collection. So my expectation is they're probably going to announce like some L2 partnership, like, hey, we're working with Arbitrum or Polygon or whatever the fuck it is, right? And then be like, now refer anyone you want to be able to play the game, and they could get it for free on this L2, and you'll earn rewards for referring those people over. That shit will just get botted. A lot of people will get a bunch of referrals, and then they're going to unlock a game experience in 2 to 3 weeks. So I'm not really sure how all the pieces are going to fit, but that's also like what's scary is that we don't really know any of these product roadmaps, right? On anyway. And this is also why like it's been great for us to see this data and see this insights, because what we're now trying to do, like I just had a great conversation with our team where we're discussing like how do we almost restructure some of our mints to still be viable in this market. And I think again, we've already mentioned with you guys, our thesis has always been is like build the product and then mint later. But I also think like one of the bigger things that we should think about is how do you reorganize the mint where you could still mint something, but it's not the primary speculative asset. The speculative asset will come later down the line that is being built. What would be a process for that could actually sustain us through this bear? But again, this is the biggest problem, right? Like everyone is struggling with curation. Everyone is struggling with who's real users. Everyone is struggling with real product launch design. Everyone is really struggling with like secondary volume. And if those are the cases that we're struggling with all of those, is this the market that's worth minting in? Most likely not with the current strategies. So you have to find some way to twist it up. And that's what Tribe is really trying to figure out. That's why we've been really heads down, because we know what we want with our passport and the port key, right? Like that's very clear and what that's going to offer in value. But the real question that I always am asking, right? And we think about this every day is, how do we get Reapers into people's hands, right? How do we get Oath into people's hands? What doesn't make sense where we could still maintain the value or the expected value of what you guys have contributed towards it and still ensure that it could have some sense of flourishing in this market? That's the hardest challenge. So that's what we're really trying to build for. So I just want to have this spontaneous little conversation. I'm going to let you guys go from here. I think the biggest thing for you guys to kind of understand here in this market is that it's tough. It's choppy. You're not going to get clear wins really quickly. Optimize for free mints, but really, if I'm looking at it, and again, I'm going to start working on building some more content here. Gaming tokens definitely does seem like a focus here if that's a market you want to play in. It is not my strongest market. I don't trade tokens at all. So it's not something that I want to say that I'm speaking confidently on, but we want to find more ways to maybe present those opportunities because it seems like that's where the market's heating up. It doesn't seem that's coming on NFTs. So if Grape and Memeland do well, again, you might see a resurgence there. I don't think it's a good long-term resurgence for the market. I still believe tokens are not that sustainable in this way, but they're very clearly valuable in the first few weeks of that launch. So if there's ways that we could participate, we're going to look more into that as well and see how we could bring that along. But, market is cold. And when it is this cold, like, don't overuse your time for anything, right? Be smart, right? Make sure you're allocating your time accordingly and don't chase, right? There's so many people chasing a lot of low quality stuff because they're just hoping for the grind. When in reality, this is the time to like curate and double down when you do see a win, right? Like, and there were wins in front of us that were presented, right? And even Tribe was able to present the opportunity, but we faded one of them, right? We faded ZTX hard. ZTX does not make sense in any manner still to this day, right? And we faded that hard. But the idea is that when we faded it, it still meant that we got you guys the largest allocation to our community, right? And a lot of you didn't fade it, right? Which was very interesting as well, right? Grapes was a huge opportunity for all of us. Massive allocation to grapes, right? We had the largest allocation to grapes beyond it. And we were doing the public launch with them so that we were able to see and let you guys know that we all could have had public access to it if we bought. Right. So there are always opportunities here, but yeah, it's tough. Yeah. I mean, you're seeing short-term flips like crazy, right? Actually, what's one of the more profitable strategies is being a blur farmer right now and finding the right collections and just winning. like small little dumps because people are dumping really, really early with really, really wide ranges between the floor and the bid price. It's kind of really amazing, right? So I'm hoping these pieces all kind of like start showing up, but it is really tough, right? And because right, like this is a huge opportunity. We'll close out with Lemon Boy's great quote here: "Don't chase profit, attract profit." Today, I faded Wallet Wars, and in return, I was awarded with a nickel I found on the street. Nearly 8x the profit I could have made from minting. Oh, shit. Yeah. This is kind of what makes it fun. So, have fun, still in opportunity. Tribe's going to find cool ways to deliver and optimize new opportunities for you too. I'm really excited for it. If you are interested in Jioverse, go check out the raffles in the village market. Pretty much, if you enter the raffle right now, you would be guaranteed a win. So if you feel it's worth 3 relics for that optionality, go for it. If not, don't worry. We're going to get you guys more allocations coming through with a few other parties. And again, let us know if there's other partners you want. Shout out to all of our Diamond and our active community members. You guys have pointed us to a lot of other projects. We hope to keep it going. I'm going to stick to it. I'm a little over 15 minutes, but I'm going to let you all go. Enjoy the rest of your day, and we will chat soon. Bye-bye now.